guys, so today we're going to be talking about oral contracts and whether they are enforceable in a court of law. My name is Briana Robertson. I am the managing attorney of the law office of Briana C. Robertson, where we specialize in trying to help keep businesses legally protected and also help with criminal defense law. Okay, now for the topic for today is talking about oral contracts and whether they are enforceable. So the short answer to that question is yes. In most states, oral contracts are enforceable. Oral contracts are those that are not in writing, where you're talking to somebody, you agree to do something in exchange for something else, and vice versa. You guys agree on it, you shake on it, and there you have it. You have an oral contract. Now, and usually these things can be upheld in a court of law. However, there are exceptions to certain kind of contracts. I know here in the state of Texas, we have what's called the statute of frauds. The statute of frauds is a statute that outlines certain contracts that must be in writing in order for them to be enforceable. An example of some of these contracts that have to be in writing in order to be enforceable are real estate agreements. So anything that's dealing with buying, leasing of real estate, loans greater than $50,000, contracts that cannot be performed within a year. These are the type of contracts that must be in writing in order to be enforceable. So if your contract falls into one of those categories, yes, the contract needs to be in writing. Now, when it comes to the statute of frauds, that can be a little tricky because that area can be a little bit up for debate, especially when it comes to contracts that can be performed within 1 year. Because judging that whether it's something that could be performed within 1 year or not is kind of like, the threshold. If something could be performed in 1 year, but it takes longer than that, technically the statute of frauds would not apply because it's something that could have been accomplished in 1 year. Same thing is if you try to say a contract is to last throughout somebody's life, that usually would not constitute as being against the statute of frauds because in that situation, somebody could not live, 1 full year. It's not guaranteed that anybody will live a full year. So therefore, even with that, it is possible that that contract could be accomplished within a year. So that does not fall within a statute of frauds. So it's all really, up for, interpretation of whether a contract falls within the statute of frauds or not. But if it specifies a time frame that's clearly like it's going to take longer than a year, that needs to be in writing. But that's a whole nother discussion, and there's all defenses even to if something does fall within a statute of frauds. Does that automatically mean that the contract's thrown out? No, because it depends on the situation. There can be defenses even to that. Now, with that being said, even though oral contracts are enforceable outside of things that fall within their statute of frauds, I would never recommend that you don't get a contract that's not in writing. It's just a lot easier if you have a contract that is in writing because you have a clear layout of what your agreement is. It's just a lot easier to prove if you ever have to go to court. It takes away the step to determine whether there was an actual agreement or a meeting of the minds and to determine what that agreement is. Now, while in contracts, those can be up for interpretation, and there can be some back and forth into how a contract is interpreted and the meaning of, different things and all of that. It does take out one less step of proving whether a contract actually existed and what those terms of the contract were. That step is, you don't have to deal with that step because if you have writing, we know that there was an agreement. We kind of know what the terms were, and then now you're trying to determine the interpretation of that contract and whether it was actually breached. Versus if you only have an oral agreement, you have to first show that there was an actual meeting of the minds or an agreement between the two of you guys or three or however many people. And then you have to determine what were the actual terms of that agreement. And then after that, you have to determine, whether it was breached, which can be very difficult to show in a court of law and take a lot more time versus if you just have the contract in writing. So it's just always good to make sure that you get all contracts in writing. It's a lot easier to deal with, a lot more protection for you. It's a lot easier if you ever have to go to court. It's a lot easier to prove in court. So yes, while oral contracts are enforceable. As an attorney, I always encourage that you get the contract in writing. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, please like this video, press the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel to continue to get updates about legal matters that are happening. And you know what? Can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. Y'all have a good one.